Today I am officially getting started on the powder room makeover. I have most of the supplies that I need to get going. There's still a few things that I'm sourcing. Hopefully we can find those soon, but let's get to it. This is the powder room on the main floor of my home. It was very basic and builder grade when we moved in, with the typical pedestal style sink, absolutely no storage, the boring old square mirror with no personality and simple light fixture. The one thing this room does have going for it is the nice large window letting in all of that natural light. So I picked this Mural wallpaper from Graham & Brown, and I'll link that in my description box. They have absolutely stunning wallpaper options. They are on the pricier side, so this is going to be the splurge piece of the bathroom because I didn't want a repeating pattern. I know it's a small space, so a repeating pattern wouldn't be too busy, but I really wanted that mural look for the top half of the bathroom. Because I'm doing more of like a narrow top section, I had to select which area of the wallpaper I wanted, or of the mural that I wanted. So like I could have picked the bottom section or the top section or somewhere in the middle. So I'm waiting for that to come in. I will pop up on the screen the section that I chose. I really hope that it's going to still do this mural justice because it is just so beautiful, but I'm waiting for it to come in. It is currently February 9th, and I believe it's actually supposed to come in tomorrow, Monday the 10th. But in the meantime, I do have a sample hanging up on my wall so that I can add some paint swatches. I picked up a few different options from Home Depot so we can see what's gonna look the best. So these are the three options that I'm gonna be testing. I'm gonna start with Rogue Blue because Josh actually picked that one out and I really loved it. I thought it was a good balance of moody and dark while still being able to read that it's a navy tone. Oh my gosh, this is so pretty. Such a beautiful color. Next is Pitch Blue. Also really pretty, deep navy. Oh, that's so rich. And finally, we have Gotham Gray. This is going to be such a hard choice. They are all really beautiful. Guys, look what came in today, the wallpaper. I have been dying to see this. I was waiting to open it up on camera. And the great thing about this one, they labeled every single strip so that I know which one goes where, the order that they all need to go in. And then it looks like I'm just gonna have to unravel each one. They all should be right in order for me. Oh my gosh. So pretty. I could tell right when I opened it, this wallpaper wasn't exactly how I thought it was going to look. And the more that I worked through this room, the more that I regretted not going with the repeating pattern option. Unfortunately, this is non-returnable because it's custom made to order, so I proceeded with my plan. But it is my mission to add character and personality to this home one room at a time. I wanted to play around with color and wallpaper in this room, which is something that I've never really done before, but in such a small space, this is the perfect room to push me out of my comfort zone. So because this wallpaper is that mural and not just a repeating pattern, I feel like I need to hang it up on the wall so that I can get the right proportions, make sure that everything that I want to be seen is going to be seen, because I still had to order wallpaper for sections like the window and like the door, but you're not going to see any of that part. So I'm going to do some measuring, try to figure out how many sections are gonna go where and see if maybe I can get a rough idea of which pieces I want in each section. So they're about 19 3/4 long. Oh my God. B1, and then this one we're hardly gonna see. It's only gonna be right at the top. Well, I have this wallpaper up on the walls, and I'm not gonna lie, you guys, I was pretty nervous about how it was gonna end up looking. I didn't realize it was gonna have so much brown in it, and I didn't realize that all of the floral details in it were gonna be like overlapping and the colors would be layered on top of each other. So when I first opened it, I was a little bit nervous, especially on those lighter parts where you could really see all the different colors and the depths behind them. So once I got it up on the wall, I decided to go with this darker section on the main wall. This is what you're going to see the most. And then some of those lighter sections ended up being on the door and then over on the window. So we're going to be cutting those off. You're not going to see them at all anyways. But here's where I was saying, like, you can see all of the different layers and the color and the depth in there over top of these, or underneath of all of these lighter sections. So I wasn't really loving that. This lighter blue is okay, that part's not as bad, but where it was white, like, I don't know, I just didn't really love how that executed, and I thought maybe I went with the wrong choice. Where this sample is the repeating pattern sample, and you don't see that nearly as much on the repeating pattern, and I was starting to question, should I just have gone with this one instead? Because you just get like those hints of brown and not like the speckled brown look everywhere. So here's the next challenge. I bought beadboard, this wood plywood beadboard for the bottom section of the wall. This is going to get painted a navy blue, but the issue is I measured the wallpaper a little bit longer. As you can see, there's like a pretty big gap here, and I wanted more of the decorative parts of the wallpaper to be seen, where the top, it's a little bit more empty and just that like speckled background look. So I'm thinking that I'm going to want to lift the wallpaper up a little bit higher. So I'm going to have to like start with the bottoms rather than starting from the ceiling, which makes me a little bit nervous. But I did buy a laser level to help me get this wallpaper up nice and straight. So we'll see how that part ends up turning out. Before applying the wallpaper to the walls, you want to make sure to remove any wall anchors and fill in any holes in the wall, or you will see that through the wallpaper. Next, I'm going to be adding a primer to the walls, and I am using this Kills Clear primer. Now, the only reason I'm using this one is because I already had it on hand, but they do make specific wallpaper primers. I just didn't want to have to go out and buy something if I didn't need to. It is finally time to start hanging up the wallpaper, you guys. I am so nervous to do this. I have been procrastinating and just putting this off, but I need to just get started, dive right in, figure it out. So that's what we're gonna do next. The camera's going in and out of focus, so if that happens, sorry about that. I'm gonna mark the width of the roll on like several points of the wall and then draw a straight line so we know exactly how wide this first strip is. This is the one that we want to be the straightest, and I have it butting right up against a wall. So hopefully these walls are straight, and that will help give us a nice guide starting point. This stuff is so incredibly thick, and I have no idea how much to use. Here goes nothing. For this first piece, I'm actually going to be starting at the bottom of it. Hopefully that will end up turning out okay. The rest of them I'll be able to start from the top because I'll be able to line up the next piece. So fingers crossed this goes okay for the first one. I also don't know that I put enough paste on. This is much harder than it looks. Much harder than I thought it was going to be. I'm getting further away from my line, and I'm not trying to fix it because the bottom was perfectly straight across the line, so I don't know what to do. The good thing about this thicker wallpaper that requires wallpaper paste is you can easily pull it off and reposition it as many times as you need to. The first piece was certainly the hardest, but the rest went up fairly easy.
But yeah, this wall was definitely not straight because at the bottom you can see I have it perfectly lined up with this corner with the seam of the wall. And then as I go up, it ends up, sorry, I know the lighting is so bad in here with this window, but it starts like coming over onto this side of the wall. So that was definitely not straight, making it super difficult. But when looking at my laser level line, that it is perfectly straight against. So I'm gonna go with that. Let's hope the rest of it goes on a little bit easier. Now on this window section, I was going to just cut it off right here at the window, at the top of the wall, the window, but I think what I'm going to do is actually wrap it underneath so that it kind of like folds all the way around, and then like even on this side, it's going to fold into the window. I think that that's just going to give a really high-end, elegant look instead of just cutting it off right here and painting this edging dark blue.
I realized that I couldn't do both wrapping it around the top and the sides, so I did the sides instead since the blind will cover up that top section anyways. Unfortunately, I must have bumped a setting on my camera and I didn't realize it, so none of the sound had recorded in a few of the clips here. So I'm gonna do my best to fill in what I was saying. I mentioned it earlier, but once the wallpaper was fully on the walls, I just knew that something looked off about it. So I grabbed my original swatch that they had sent me and I realized that the color was completely different. Now, I don't know if this was the way that it was just printed in this particular instance or what had happened, but it was much more teal than that navy that I was expecting. This was super frustrating because I had picked out my paint based on the sample and now the paint no longer matches. All right, I picked up 3 new paint samples, so let's hope that one of these is going to work out better. These ones have a little bit more of a green undertone instead of that navy blue that just doesn't seem to be working with the wallpaper. I did realize that it's a little bit more teal than navy leaning, so let's hope one of these works. See, the first one is going to be Mountain Pine. Ooh, that looks really teal. We'll see when it dries. Next we have Obsidian. This one looks a little bit deeper. And then the third one is called Thermal. And this was the one that I liked the most in the store compared to the wallpaper sample that I took. I know these are still wet and need to dry, but I think I'm leaning most towards Obsidian, which is this middle one. Of course, this is another clip without sound, so bear with me. While I decided on the paint color, I needed to get the light put back up in the room since I had to take that old one down when putting up the wallpaper. I found this light fixture at Lowe's and I loved that gold detail as well as the ribbed glass, which is going to tie the rest of the design lines together throughout this space. Before I start adding the beadboards to the walls, I'm going to add this privacy window film that I picked up from Amazon.
I love having my windows open. I don't always like having the blinds down all of the time. I like to let that sunlight in, but this is a bathroom in the front of our house, so of course we don't want people being able to see inside. So this is supposed to look like a fluted glass. I've never used this before. We'll see how it goes.
This is basically just a big window cling. It was super easy to apply. Another option, if you like to have that natural light coming through, it's a cafe curtain. This would also provide privacy on the lower half of a window. I picked up a dog hair or two behind the film, but you can just lift it up, remove that hair, and lay it back down. Just add a little bit more water if you need to so it clings again. I had to clear out the rest of the room before I can add that beadboard to the walls. There is nothing wrong with these baseboards, so I removed them, but I'm going to reuse them to save a little money. I also removed the pedestal sink since we're replacing the sink anyways, and we left the toilet in place both so we can continue using this bathroom, but also we weren't replacing it and didn't want to take it out if it wasn't necessary. Next, I can get that beadboard up on the walls. We had picked up 2 sheets of this 8-foot by 4-foot plywood beadboard for about $30 each. And I had the guys at Home Depot cut it down for me into 4-foot sections since that's how tall I wanted them to be.
So now we can finally start to add the beadboard to the wall. This should be a pretty easy process. I think the most difficult part is going to be cutting out the holes for around the plumbing where the sink is going to go, but the other wall should be pretty quick and seamless. This piece against the wall, I'm gonna have to cut a section out that is covering the outlet right now. The outlet cover is gonna go above it, so I'm just gonna cut a U shape out of here to go right around it. This one should be at least pretty simple.
We decided to cut this 4-foot section in half. This made it much easier to get around the plumbing and then also behind the toilet on the other side. We just mitered the cut so that the 2 pieces slid together seamlessly.
So we had to make a Home Depot run. I needed one more sheet of the beadboard to fill in both
this little spot right here and then this spot behind me. Just the way that like the tongue and the groove is, I didn't have the right piece, so we had to go get another sheet, unfortunately. But on the way pulling into Home Depot, we got a severe weather alert and then a tornado watch. So it started pouring down rain. Now I can't go out and finish the cuts for these last two little pieces that I need. But we did pick up some other things, so I'm going to start caulking in where I can so that we can get ready for painting. I also picked up a couple of tile sample options for what's going to go on top of the sink. So I ended up getting a little chest, an antique chest that was from my mom's house to put in here, and we're going to use it as the base for the sink, and then we're going to have a vessel bowl sink on top of it. So trying to figure out what's going to work the best, because I don't want to just set the vessel sink bowl on top of the wood. It'll end up warping over time and getting wet from washing our hands and whatnot. So I did want to put at least some sort of like tile on top of it or glass or protect it in some way. And they have these really large tile options at Home Depot, so I thought that would be really helpful to just cut that down, set it on top, and then we won't have to worry about it getting ruined. At first I picked up this penny tile that had kind of a variation of like blues and grays and browns, because all of those colors are what we have in the bathroom currently. It works nicely with the floors. And then I found this sandstone larger tile, but I would have to get two pieces of these and there would be a seam somewhere on the sink. So not sure about that one, but I do really like the way it looks, both with the floors and then also with the wallpaper. And then we also found this really beautiful onyx slate tile, and this is big enough where I could just cut it down and it would fit right on top. But it has also a lot, it's hard to see because it's glaring a lot, but it has some really beautiful like brown veining within it that I thought would look really nice. Josh picked this one out and I really like how this looks. Here's another clip without sound. You guys, I am like an amateur at this. I am so sorry. But basically, since I was waiting for the weather to clear up to cut these last two pieces, I decided I wanted to get a section of the beadboard painted where the sink would go. That way I could get a better idea of how the tile was going to look. I did cut this last piece a little bit too short, so I just cut down another tiny little piece. Ignore my nail. That's from my fireplace makeover months ago, and it is still growing out from when I smashed it with a hammer. It's so ugly. Anyways, I did cut this one a little short, so I just cut down like an extra little strip, and honestly, since it's in the corner and it's in that spot right behind the toilet, once we caulk it and paint it, you are never going to be able to see that. I have all of the wood beadboard put on all around the walls, and the next thing that I need to do is add in this corner seam on the windows. And I was debating if I put the wood beadboard on this section as well. I think I am going to do that just to make it look a little bit more finished and seamless. And then we're going to take this corner molding and it's going to go right over those edges so you don't see that raw edge there. I actually decided that I'm going to do the chair rail first before we do the little corner parts of the window. And it took me a little bit of time to figure out how exactly I wanted these to look. Whenever I was playing around with it in Home Depot, I believe I had them lined up this way so that like the smaller one was facing angled down, and then I had like this flat piece up here. But after playing around with it, like that just wasn't really going to work. You can see it doesn't really cover up the depth of the beadboard. So instead I flipped it around the other way, because then I was going to put this one on top because I do want there to be a ledge on top of the molding, but this just kind of looks funny. I don't like the way that that looks at all. And if I bring it down to sit at least on top of the beadboard, that at least looks a little bit better. So it's still covering the top of this beadboard seam, and then I can still have my ledge, and this doesn't look funny at all. Like, it just looks like it was meant to be a little gap or a little dip in and then back out, similar to how it does right here. This was a rookie mistake that I made. I am just failing over and over in this room, but learning so much along the way. When installing the beadboard, instead of making sure that the tops were level, I had made sure that they were all level along the floor. So this messes up that chair rail portion, and I had to go back in with my multi-tool to cut it down. And this is what I get for trying to make that window look nice and finished. Clearly I'm an amateur, like I said, you guys, at home renovations, but it is all part of the learning process, and I just want you guys to learn from my mistakes so you don't make the same ones. Before adding this last set of trim, I had to add an outlet extender because the beadboard did make the walls a little bit thicker now. I didn't really think it was going to be a big deal where this light box is whenever I had started the project after I got all of the wallpaper on, but I thought I'd be able to just like kind of do the trim. I thought I'd be able to just add on that chair railing and we could just work around this, but it's going to be like half of it would be flat against the wall and then half of it would need to have an extender on it and be pushed out because of just how thick that chair railing is. So instead, we're going to just move the light box and we're going to take it up just slightly higher, just to right above where the chair rail is going to sit. So you can see on this wall, it'll be like just above here, sitting right on top. And that's just gonna make it a lot easier, a lot cleaner looking than having to like MacGyver something together. But I'm not very comfortable doing this, so Josh is gonna help me out. I'm going to reuse all of these baseboards. There's nothing wrong with them, but I am just going to scrape off all of that old caulk and paint that's behind them so that they'll sit nice and flat once we put them back on. I caulked the corners and the seams of the beadboard, and finally we can get to the paint. I ended up choosing the color Obsidian. It is deep and rich and exactly the shade of navy I was looking for. We are so close to being done with this bathroom makeover. The last thing that we really need to do is get the sink hooked up, and I had gotten this old vanity. It's not really a vanity, it's kind of like a side table cabinet from my parents. They're moving and I asked if I could take it. It was the perfect size to fit right here and then add a vessel sink on top. And I love this sink that we got. I got a clear sink because I didn't want it to compete with anything else that's happening in the room. I didn't want a white sink. I thought that would be too stark of a contrast, even though we have the big white door behind us. But this rib detailing on it really just plays up all of the other rib details that we have going on in this room. It is the perfect option. We decided to go with the onyx tile for the top of the sink. This went best with that Moody theme and also matched the existing hardware on the sink base the best, as well as that black accent in the wallpaper.
Okay, fail. on that one.
Well,
let's try the plumbing at least.
it's a little wet.
I can do a little bit of wet.
So we have one last part that we need to run to Home Depot for to be able to finish up the sink, and then we'll have to cut down the drawers so that they fit around the piping. But in the meantime, I am going to get the mirror hung up, get the shelves, get all of my accessories in place.
I got this mirror on Macbid for only $1. Macbid is a great place to find home decor at a discounted price. Originally, I was going to add rub and buff to it to tie all the gold accents together, but I actually liked having that mix of black and gold throughout.
Almost dropped the mirror. So to cover up this tile where the tile meets the top of the wood sink at, I got this trim. I actually had planned on putting it on top of the chair rail portion, but didn't love how that was looking or how it was turning out. So I'm actually going to repurpose it and use it to just cover up this little edge right here. And then it's going to look like the tile is like encased. But I do need to stain it. And since this is like an antique piece of furniture, it is pretty difficult to get an exact matching stain, and it's been weathered, it's been aged over time. So I did come up with a combination of stains: golden pecan, golden oak, and then a little hint of early American to give that little bit of a red look, because the other two are a little bit more golden. And this cabinet, it has that like gold, but kind of a hint of red to it. So it's not exact, but it is as close as a match as I could get it to be. It is finally time for finishing touches. It has been 2 long months in the making, but it is finally time to see the completed bathroom makeover in 3, 2, 1. If you remember, this bathroom was cold, sterile, and basic before we started, and now it is cozy and inviting with tons of personality. Do I still regret not getting that repeating pattern wallpaper? Well, yes. Yes, I do. I'm still on the hunt for a toilet paper holder and maybe a small rug, but I want to find the right pieces. So once I come across those, I will certainly update you guys in a future thrifting video.